Hi everybody and welcome. I'm Derek Brotherton, CEO of Caddie. Shortly we'll take a look at the new functionality we've introduced in Caddie 30, but before we do, I'd like to thank you, our clients, for your continued support, our developers for all the hard work behind the scenes creating the software, the beta testers for ensuring that by the time you get the software it's as trouble-free as possible, and lastly the staff for all their efforts they put in every day. As is usual at this time of the year, we announce a retirement of support for an older version. This time it's Caddie 27, which we'll stop supporting in December this year. If anybody is still using it, it's time to upgrade. A couple of points regarding licensing. Our new auto-relicensing technology has made updating licenses transparent for most people. Caddie does all the hard work in the background. And cloud licensing has eliminated a lot of hassles of moving licenses with the ability to use the license online or download the license for a set period of time if your internet is unreliable. To make this easier, we've introduced new detach and return tools inside Caddie. A few other things we've been up to this year. Our website has had some minor upgrades. Our YouTube videos remain popular and have increased in number. And our online training has gone from strength to strength. We now have courses available for getting started with Caddie, Survey, DTM, View, AEC and GIS. And our advanced AEC will soon be here. Over the last year, several of our staff have been out and about visiting clients, from small single-person practices to large corporates, to see how they're using Caddie and what we can improve. We're also continuing our initiatives for students. We give support for training institutes using Caddie. We give free educational software to students. And we have the Caddie Student Placement Software License Program, which gives a full professional license for a month and access to the Getting Started course. As far as development goes, we're continuing with our multi-year project to replace the graphics engine using new cutting-edge technology. It's still a while away, unfortunately, but it's a massive undertaking. It will be worth it though, as we're seeing huge performance gains on all hardware for both 2D and 3D projects, as well as several other new features. For Caddie 30, much of the new functionality is for general drafting. And we're seeing some improved performance on both 2D and 3D drawings. We've created more catalogue content. We now have 29 catalogues available, with search tools to enable you to find the content that you need fast. We have new construction tools, meaning your drawing space should be less cluttered. We have GIS improvements with scheduling and LiDAR import. And the solids and surfaces which we introduced last year are enhanced to make Boolean operations faster. We also have IFC improvements supporting new standards and more objects. And improvements to the new PDF export, which again was introduced last year and has been extremely popular. Thanks to everyone that has come forward with requests and suggestions. We still have a long list of wishes, and most of the functionality you will see today has stemmed from conversations with users like yourselves who rely on Caddie for their everyday work. That's enough from me. Now let me introduce Herod and Charles, who will show us a selection of the highlights of Caddie 30. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Derek. Good day, everybody. We start off with construction lines. So on the left-hand side, you're all familiar to get all of the commands. I'm going to start off with horizontal construction line on the left-hand side, and then I'm going to make use of construction line parallel to an object with a 0 offset. But what I'm going to show you is, or that you may agree, is that at some stage your drawing can become messy with all the construction lines. So up to Caddie 29, what Caddie did is that if you read the command line, I'm going to use the same command. Caddie will ask us the position for the construction line C to cycle through. So as soon as I press C on the keyboard, because this is a horizontal construction line, I can create construction lines to the right hand side. And if I press C again, now I can create construction line to the left hand side. And then if I press C again, we're back to a normal straightforward construction line where there's no start point or end point, it's infinity. Now in Caddie 30, the new enhancement is as follows. Let's just get rid of those. Have a look and see. You may notice that there's existing construction lines. So if I select one of them, Caddie confirm construction line 1. In the bottom, you will see that there's a new command added to the list, and it's called construction line constraints. So if I'm going to switch that on, have a look and see what's going to happen. I'm going to use the same command. Let's start off with the horizontal. S for snap, and I'm creating my horizontal construction lines. Then you may notice that your construction line, the start and the end, is inside the vicinity of the border that you've created by defining the constraints. So let's go to the right hand side and let's do exactly the same. As you can see, the construction lines, they are inside the boundary or the vicinity of your constraint construction lines. So now I'm going to show you how to set it up. Now, first of all, the color, as you can see, is a gray color. Now that's getting controlled and managed. We go down to construction and we go to parameter set. In this dialog, you may notice that when it comes to your construction line and circle, there's also no option that you can make use of a drop down instead of a slider. Now here comes the enhancement, your construction constraint lines. Now as you can see, at the moment I'm making use of pen number 8 and I'm making use of a width of 0.6. And below that, you've got an option you can ask for auto layering your construction lines. Now this is the advantage that if you're going to put your construction lines on dev points and you save your drawing to PDF, then you know your construction lines will not plot. So let's say okay, and let's do the exercise from scratch. So I'm going to delete the construction lines, I'm going to delete the constraints. Now I'm going to show you how to set up the constraints. Now in the status bar, as I mentioned, where you will find the command, you can right click on the command and then you will see there's add horizontal, add vertical, and delete all constraints. So I'm going to start off with the horizontal, just freehand, indicate one at the bottom, one at the top. Then I'm going to right click again on the command, I'm going to add vertical, once again just freehand. I would like to have a gap in between and on the left hand side, and I press escape. So now if I move my pointer, Caddie will tell me construction line constraints is on. So if I left click and it's gray, then it means it's switched off. If it's blue, it's switched on. So now that it's switched on, now I can carry on with my construction lines. Let me just repeat what I just showed you earlier on, and now you know how to set up your constraints. Let's do something like that. That is when it comes to your constraints. But now it can be that, say for instance, you're working with a large drawing and you don't want to make use of these constraints over here. You like to delete them. So you just delete them like a normal delete segment command. So on the left hand side, you go to modify. In the subcolumn, we go down to delete segment and you can delete those constraints. And if I'm going to zoom back to my model, now I can still carry on with my construction lines. You'll see that if I say, let's go through there, my constraints remain at the top, but at the bottom I can carry on working just like normal. And just a matter of interest, if you're going to zoom in and you like to, say for instance, delete the construction lines between those lines, exactly the same, delete segment, you can go to modify, in the subcolumn delete segment, and I can clean in between 2 points. Construction circles have similar properties now as normal circles in the object properties. If I go to draw, I make use of the normal circle 2 point, indicate the start point. Let's give it a radius of say 80 millimeter. Now I'm going to create a construction circle as well. Under geometry, construction circle by 2 points, and I'm just going to do this one freehand. So if I select the circle in my object properties, it displays the geometry, including the radius. So if I select my construction circle now, it also displays my geometry, and now I can update my radius. So let's change it to 80. And now you'll find a new command, and that is to toggle between a construction line and a circle. So you can convert a construction circle to a normal circle. By selecting the construction circle, you're going to right click, we go down to convert to, and the new command added that says toggle circle construction line. So as soon as you click on the command and you press escape, you'll see that your construction circle has been converted to a normal circle. And vice versa, you can select the circle, you're going to right click, we go down to convert to, and you make use of the same command, toggle circle construction circle, then you'll see it converted to a construction circle. So let's apply to our exercise. So as you can see, I've got two construction circles. I would like to convert them to normal circle, so I can select the construction circle, right click, we go down to convert to, and we make use of the command. If I press escape, we convert it. So if I press spacebar, that means repeat previous command, I can just indicate the next circle. And then a new command, and that is to convert a segment into an arc as well. So instead of making use of the normal arc command 132 or 123, have a look and see that you can select the construction circle, You right click, then you will see under make, there's an option that says make arc from circle segment. So as soon as I'm going to click on the command, as you can see, it made use of that segment and then convert it to a normal arc. So let's apply it, because as you can see, the command is in a loop. Caddie asks us indicate segment of construction circle to make an arc. So indicate the next segment, next one, and next one, as well as this one. Now you can go to modify, use the lead segment. Now I can get rid of the unwanted line segments, and I can now switch off my construction lines. So you can select the circle, right click, you can convert it to a construction circle, but you can also, if you've got a construction circle segment, you can make an arc from a circle segment. The command is an existing command, so if we go to draw, we go to lines, and we go down to ink in. Previously, Caddie created single individual lines. So the new announcement is going to be a polyline. So Caddie asks us, once you click on the command, indicate the line start, I indicate my first intersection. Then Caddie asks us, indicate next element close to intersection, and this is going to be on the right hand side. Then I want to come down to my arc, so indicate the arc, around the arc, the next intersection, the bottom right hand side, and then I indicate on the left hand side, and I can close it. So say P for end, and if I select the line, as you can see, it's one entity, and Caddie confirm in the object properties polyline 1. When it comes to backups, there's another 2 enhancements. The one is on the rendering side. So if I go to my render on my left hand side, we go down to view. In the subcolumn we go to render. You will see that at the bottom there's a new option added that's called auto backup before rendering, because it may be that you're doing some changes to either materials, or you move furniture around, or symbols, and you hit render, and then for some reason you decide, but wait, let's cancel this render, Alt Control Delete, and you close your Caddie. Then at least now, just before the render start, Caddie did make a backup. It did overwrite before it's starting with the render. So that's the first one, auto backup before rendering. The second one is when it comes to your screen layout. It's auto saved. So if I go to my configure screen layout, you will see that under your recall screen layout, you'll always find at least 3 auto saves. As soon as you close your Caddie, it will overwrite the first one, that's called auto saved. The first one will become auto saved _1, and number 1 will become number 2. So it will move it down in the list. You can control it, or either you can rename it, as you can see, certain days, I did give it dates, or if you don't want to make use of it, you can switch it off, or you can control it under your configure environment settings. We go down to your screen layout, and now you will see there's an option that's called auto save screen layout on exit. So by default with your installation, it's set to yes. If you like to switch it off, that's where you can control it. Open from history is the existing command, but now you have preview with the file. So if you go to file, open from history, on the left hand side it displays the days. So let's go to Tuesday. As you click on the file itself, it will give you a preview. As you can see on the right hand side, just a matter of interest is that remember that at the bottom, either you can ask Caddie to show you the stats, open time, work time, just expand it a bit, as well the open folder. As you click on a file, Caddie will show you the path where this file is saved. So if you click on open folder, it will take you to that location. When it comes to presets, to save some time. Now, if I go to my sheet, any of my existing sheet, and I go to my sheet setup, my printer plotter is already set up, my paper size is selected, as well as my plot style. As you can see, I'm making use of the Microsoft XPS. I'm going to create a new preset. So I'm going to click on the preset manager. I'm going to say new preset. I'm going to call this one PDF 995. I would recommend that if you've got, say, 2 printers and a plotter, is to create those 3 presets, because now you will see the advantage of creating presets. Now I've created a preset, but it hasn't been set up yet. So I'm going to click on the preset and I'm going to say modify. Now I need to tell Caddie that this preset, my printer plotter, need to make use of the PDF 995 driver, paper size is A4, and my plot style need to be style 1. If I'm going to say OK, it will now keep it in its preset. So what that means, if I say close, and I'm going to click on a new sheet, I go to my preset, I select this PDF that I've just set up, and I say set current. Now you will see that it displays the sheet name and the preset that it's using. Now here comes the advantage. If I say close, let's go back to one of my existing sheets. Right click sheet setup. I want to make use of that PDF preset as well. So I go to my preset manager and I'm going to tell Caddie that on this sheet I would like to make use of this preset as well. So at the moment there's two sheets that's making use of my PDF 995 preset. So if I say close, and even if you create a new sheet, you can tell Caddie from the start. You click on new sheet, you go to your preset manager. I would like to make use of this preset, set current. So there's three sheets using this current PDF 995 preset. Now what happens is, in a month or two, you change printers or plotters or drivers. Now you don't have to go to each and every sheet to tell Caddie that this sheet setup, we need to change it to a new printer or to a new driver. So you're going to right click, you go to your sheet setup, you go to your preset manager, and where I've used my PDF 995 preset, I'm going to update that preset with the new driver. So I'm going to go to modify. It's no longer PDF 995 because, say for instance, you've got a new driver. I'm just using one of our in-house drivers. And if you would like to, let's change the plot style as well, just so you can see it, it will update. So as soon as I'm going to say OK, Caddie will confirm the page setup you just edited is referenced by additional layouts in the current drawing. Would you like to update all layouts that reference this page setup with these edits? So if I'm going to say yes, what that means now is it runs through. Now those three sheets make use of this new PDF. You can rename it because we make use of a new driver. So let's call this one new setup. And I'm going to say OK. Those three sheets make use of the new setup. So I'm going to say close. So if I go to new sheet, right click sheet setup, it should make use of this HP color. Should use the A4 and my X mono. And if I go to this other sheet, right click sheet setup, Caddie will confirm make use of this new driver and with the new plot style. So the advantage is if you make use of presets, update the preset if you change drivers, if you need to change plot styles, and it will update wherever that preset is in use. The reorder command is the existing command, but now you'll see that you can rename your sheets while you reorder your sheets. Now, as you can see in this exercise, I've got my first sheet that's called all. Then the next sheet, it's more about safety and protection. The next sheet is about general instruction, and then the last one is about warning. Now, as you can see, my sheet names really doesn't make sense. So when I reorder it, I would like to have my warning next to my all, and then I would like to have my safety and then my general instruction. First of all, you can right click on any of those sheets and then you can go to reorder sheet. Yes, we do have a command that says rename sheet, where you can go to your sheet setup, but you don't want to do it with each and every sheet. And that's why I like about the command is you right click, you go to reorder sheet. In this list, you can rename it. So I'm going to select the last one that we know that was warning. So I'm going to say rename, say warning. I'm going to say OK. Now the second sheet, this one is all, as you can see, general instruction. So I'm going to click on that sheet. I'm going to say rename, instruction, and then that first sheet, I'm going to say rename, and that was safety and protection. I'm going to say OK. So now I've renamed my sheets. Now I can reorder them. Select the last one. I'm going to say up, move it up, and I would like my general instructions to be between my warning and my safety. So once I've reordered my sheets, I can just say OK, and Caddie will update. Previously, when it comes to a block, as you can see, if I select the block, Caddie confirms block reference 1. Now in this block, as you can see, I've got some 2D line work and some text, and I've got a picture or a raster image part of the block. Now previously, when you go into edit mode, you need to make use of the modify. You go down to pictures and you make use of those commands. So the enhancement is that it's going to be on your CSM. So what that means is I'm going to select my block, I'm going to right click, and we go into edit mode. So we go down to block and you're going to say edit block. So now it's like single individual components like text, or it can be lines, as Caddie confirms, or a leader, And now as you can see, I've got a picture in the background. Now I would like to clip this picture because I don't want to see the foundation or the bottom part of this picture. So you're going to select the picture, you're going to right click your CSM, we go down to picture, and then you will find your edit command. So what we want to do, we want to clip the picture by points. So you click on the command, it will ask us indicate clipping boundary. So I'm going to start, it doesn't matter if you go clockwise or anti-clockwise. So I like to go clockwise, and I want to include, this is what I still want to see from my picture. So say E for end, as you can see, it clipped the picture, get rid of the bottom part of the picture, and now if I go right click, end edit block, and I'm going to, as you can see, it's one block again, and I'm going to swap my background to white, and you will see that is your viewport on your sheet. You can see your 2D work, and my picture has been clipped. On the budget side, there's two commands added to your CSM, and that's when it comes to a reference symbol. As you'll see on the right hand side, Caddie confirm reference symbol 1, as well as when it comes to a picture. In a budget, now I'm running a budget architectural. All that it means is that if I go to my application, under my SI arc plan, I will have some budget related commands available. If I go to mechanical, I will not have any mechanical commands, but there's some standard basic commands still under a budget. So what we're going to show you now is that if you go to file insert, when you're running on a budget, doesn't matter budget mechanical or architectural, you don't have the option to insert a reference symbol. But it may be that your colleague is using a professional, he's working with a reference symbol as well as with pictures, and he sent you the file. So now added in Caddie 30 is that if you click on a reference symbol, as Caddie confirm reference symbol 1, now you can right click and you will find reference symbol related commands. That's the first enhancement on the budget. And then the same as when it comes to your pictures. You can select your picture, right click, and you will find picture related commands. Then while we're on the insert, is that when you make use of insert symbol, it can be either file insert, insert symbol, or it can be that you make use of the insert on a root menu. Is that on the left hand side, by default or up to Caddie 29, it was set to symbol. So when you make use of symbols, and you would like to insert it as blocks, you had to change it to blocks. So now in Caddie 30, remember what type you set it to. So if I'm set it to block, I'm going to select my bath, I'm going to say OK, I can place my bath, press escape. I can then either go on the left hand side, insert symbol, or I can press spacebar. Now you will see that my type remains as bringing in the symbols as blocks. When it comes to manage pictures, the enhancement is that Caddie will tell you now where your picture is in use, either in your model space or on your sheet, or maybe in a block itself. So if I go to manage, you can either go to manage and you go down to manage pictures, or you can make use of the file drawing utilities and you can go to manage pictures. Now up to the end of the path is standard in Caddie 29, and then new to Caddie 30 is that it tells you the number, how many times the image is in use, and where it's in use. The M stands for model space, the S is for sheet, and the B is for block. And as you can see, that first three images, they are used in my model space. Then I've got monoplan, it's been used on my sheet, and this particular image is used in a block, and this image is used in my model space as well as in my sheet, and the last one is in my sheet. Now if you look at the cars, you will see that the count at the moment shows 2. So if I'm going to say OK, I'm going to select this image as Caddie confirm, raster image 1. I'm going to make a copy, and I'm going to place one in that garage. So if I now go back to the command, or we had 2, and Caddie will update, and now it will show you that there's 3 images in use of that particular image. The context toolbar. Now it's the existing command on the left hand side. I'm just going to bring it closer. Is the context toolbar. Now the context toolbar works as soon as you click on an object. So if I click on a line, it will give me line related commands. If I'm going to click on a construction circle or a line, it will give me construction line and circle commands. What I want to show you is to add additional commands to it, because it may be that, say if you work a lot with construction lines and circles, but you like to add the radius as well as the text command to your context toolbar. So all you have to do is you're going to go to configure, we go down to the option that says configure context toolbar, and on the left hand side and the object, you will see that as soon as you click on arc, it will show you a list of the commands that it will display in your context toolbar. So in our case, we want to add the commands to the construction lines and circle. And under my category, what I want to add is the dimensions. So I'm going to go down to annotate dimensions. The command I would like to add is radius. So you can click on a command, then you can make use of the arrow, or you can double left click. Now as you can see, now the radius command is added to the existing list. I also want to add some text, so I'm going to go annotate text, enter via editor. I'm going to double left click and it added to the list. So I'm going to say close. I'm just going to refresh the dialog and I'm going to click on the construction line. Now you will see that there's two commands added. You can click on a construction line or a circle, and then you can make use of the radius command. So I'm going to click on the radius. It will ask us to indicate circle, arc, polyline segment. I'm going to indicate and I place my position for my text. And so I want to do the text, so I click on the construction circle, I click on the text command, and I can add flange detail. I say OK, and I can place my text. That is when it comes to update or modify your context toolbar. The next one I'm going to show you is more on the support side, and that's for the users that's making use of a cloud license. So if you go to help and you go down to license info, please, this is only for the cloud users. If you're still using a soft lock or a dongle, your license type remains on local dongle soft lock key. Only if you're buying a cloud license from us, we will assist you so that you can set up your license type to check for network license first. But here comes the announcement. And number one is that if you go to your cloud license because you would like to book out the license, so for instance you're going to a rural area and there's no internet, because that is one of the rules that if you're making use of a cloud license you need to be on the internet. So now I would like to book it out for 2 weeks or 14 days. So you're going to select your license. On your side you will have only one license. My product key, now it can be that either you're running on, say for instance, a cloud license, there's 3 budgets and 4 professionals, you only would like to book out either a professional or the budget, then you'll be able to select it from the list. In my case, I've got a professional, I want to book out this professional key to my local PC because I'm going to work offline for the next 2 weeks. So now I can tell Caddie either for 14 days, or I can be more specific and I can tell Caddie till a certain date. So I'm going to say 14 days. And then I'm going to click on a command that says use license offline detach. So I'm going to click on the command and you will see license detach successful. We're going to say OK. And as you can see, this is now your new offline license. So after 14 days, it will return to the server. Otherwise, if say for instance after 7 days, you're on the internet, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to return the license now. So all you have to do is you're going to open exactly the same command. You go to help license info, you're going to come to your cloud license, you're going to say return the license. Caddie will confirm license return successful. You're going to say OK, and as you can see there's no offline license anymore. You're going to say OK. Caddie will ask you to restart. You're going to say yes, and Caddie will restart. On the landing side, there's 2 new enhancements. Now you're all familiar with your active layer as well as to set up your layers. Now in this exercise, as you can see, if I scroll down, there's no layer that's called schedule tables. As you can see, I've got some schedule tables here, and I would like to first of all create the layer and then move it to that layer. So now you've got 2 options. Option 1 will be, as soon as you select an object or multiple objects, you will see that as you right click and we go down to layering and display, you will see there's a new command added that's called quick create new layer. So if I'm going to click on the command, I'm going to create one that's called schedule tables, and I'm going to say OK. Now first you will notice that on your right hand side, if I'm going to click on the drop down, you will see that at the bottom now it added the new layer name. So while something is selected, now I can move it to that new layer. And then secondly, you'll notice that on your left hand side under your active layers, if you scroll down, it will also be added to the list. Or what you can do is, if nothing is selected, I've pressed escape, you'll notice that nothing is selected. I can right click and I can go to layering and display, and I can ask Caddie quick create new layer. Or you can go even another step further and create a shortcut key on your keyboard. In my case, I'm using Shift N, and it opens the command. So if you're working a lot with layers, and especially creating new layers while you're in a drawing, I would recommend this command. As I say, you right click, layering and display, and you say quick create new layer. Secondly is that when it comes to your search, now in this drawing, if I go to my normal layer setup, on my left hand side, as you can see, if I scroll down, there's a lot of layers. Now what I would like to do is I would like to find out if there's any layers with the, say, for ducting. And so at the bottom in the middle, this is the new enhancement, is I'm going to search for duct. But what you will have to do is, if I click on layer 0, it will search from layer 0 downwards. If I'm going to click on layer 15, then it will search from layer 15 downwards. So I'm going to ask Caddie, from layer 0, search for me for text containing duct. If I'm going to click on the arrow, it will take me to the first layer, and as you can see, duct text DIMS. If I click on the arrow again, it will take me to the next layer. So when it comes to for searching in your layer setup, the new enhancement is the search tool at the bottom. To activate your catalog, you can either go to view at the top, go down in the list, you'll find catalog, or alternatively in your status bar, the second command, as you move your pointer, Caddie will tell you show hide catalog. So I'm going to activate my catalog. Now by default, you'll get your Caddie 30 samples installed with the installation. And then you will have an option that says download additional catalog. Now as you can see, I've already downloaded some content. So you can click on download additional catalog. Caddie will bring up a dialog and shows what is available. Now once it's installed, as you can see, your status will then shows installed. So most users are familiar with this catalog, so here comes the enhancement. At the bottom left hand side, there's now a search option. So if I'm going to click on the search, Caddie opens this search catalog, and now you can search by typing in text. So text to search for, so let's change it to WC. Now where to search? Now it's going to search for the name, the description, as well as the keyword. So I'm going to click on the search button, and then it shows me what symbols containing the WC, either in the name, the description, or the keyword. But most people knows it as a toilet. So I'm going to type in toilet. I'm going to click on the search. And as you can see, now I even get more blocks or symbols related to the word toilet, either the name, description, or the keyword. So let's take for some sample, there's a toilet, a rock hard toilet monoblock. So now I've click on the symbol. Now I can drag it from my search catalog, or if I right click, I will have an option that says show tool in catalog. So if I'm going to click on that one, on the right hand side, Caddie will then take you to that particular palette. As you can see, my catalog, now it's under sanitary fittings and fixtures. So either you can drag it now from the right hand side, or you can drag it from your search catalog. So I'm going to select the symbol, drag, and I can place my symbol. Now as you may notice, let me just close this, is that I've split my model space in two views. One is a top view and one is the rotated angle. Now this is what we call a multi-view block. What that means is, as soon as I select the symbol, Caddie will confirm this is a multi-view block. As soon as something is rotated, it gives you a model, presents a model. But when it comes to your top view, your front view, left view, right view, or back view, then it makes use of a different block, because then you would like to see less information. So that's when it comes to multi-view blocks. With the viewports, you'll see that I'm making use of an existing command, but you will see the enhancement now. That on the left hand side under view, if you make use of the command that says zoom model space to viewport extends. If I click on the command, it will ask us indicate viewport to zoom to. So I'm going to click on the viewport, and then we've got options. Now I'm just going to switch on draw permanent viewport boundary. So what that means is, as soon as I'm going to say OK, it will take us to the model space, and it will create a polygon. So if I click on a polygon, as you will see in the object properties, that's a polygon. Now I can press escape or R for regen, because I asked Caddie to display it permanent. But you can delete it. If you select it, you can press delete on the keyboard. But what I like about it is that if you're going to zoom out in your model, you will see exactly where you've already created viewports. And here comes the enhancement, that as soon as you're going to select the polygon in the object properties, you will see under specific, Caddie will tell you, okay, the style, that's a viewport, and then where this viewport, on what sheet is it. So the viewport sheet, this current polygon is on site plan ground story. So if I select another one, let's say this one will be site plan first story. So then you know exactly where that viewport refers to on your sheet. And then another enhancement is that if you select the polygon, you can right click, we can go down to viewport, and we can ask Caddie highlight that specific viewport in that sheet. So I'm going to click on the command, Caddie will take me to that sheet, And as you can see at the bottom right, it highlights the viewport where it refers to in the model space. So that is the enhancements when it comes to your viewports. Just a recap that when you make use of a drawing, now as you can see in this drawing, I've got this area on the left hand side, but if I go to my sheet 1, the viewport itself shows it as if it's vertical. So this is an existing command. We just like to recap on how to do it. So first of all, you're going to create a viewport, normal procedure. You're going to say rectangle for that matter. You're going to select the area that you want to take to your sheet. You go to your sheet 1, and this case is scale 1 and 200, and you place your viewport. Now at the moment, it's still at an angle. So you're not going to modify your model. You're going to actually change the angle of the viewport. So to get the answer to it, if I go back to my model space, I just make use of a normal line draw. So if I go to draw and I say auto is for snap and I say freehand in this direction, as you can see my angle is 17.7. So I'm going to make use of 18 degrees. So if I go back to my sheet, I can now tell Caddie, if I select that viewport in my object properties, you will see that my rotation angle is set to 0. So I'm going to adjust it by minus 18 degrees. So I'm going to press enter, and as you can see, this is now the advantage of making use of your object properties on your viewport so that your viewport either fits horizontal or vertical on your sheet, although the site itself remains at its original angle. When creating viewports, in the command itself, Caddie will ask you scale for viewport, but it may be that either yourself made use of AutoFit or you received a drawing from someone that used AutoFit. Now when you use AutoFit, then it's not necessarily according to scale. So if I select the viewport on your right hand side, as you can see, this particular viewport has got a scale of 1 to 122. The one next to it is 149. So new to Caddie 30 is that you can select multiple viewports. And in your object properties, you can make changes to the content. As you can see, the scale, Caddie picks up that the 3 viewports I've selected, the scale varies. So I'm going to force it now to scale 100 and have a look. You'll see that all 3 of the viewports will update. So now all 3 is making use of scale 100. The same as when it comes to my annotation scale. At the moment it says various, so I can force it to 100. And the same as when it comes to lock your scale, show UCS icon, render mode. As you can see at the moment it's 2D wireframe because this is a 2D drawing, but it may be that if you're making use of 3D objects, you have to change it to flat shaded or thong shaded. So this is the content now added to your object properties when it comes to selecting multiple viewports on a sheet. In this exercise, we would like to recreate what we see on the right hand side. Now, first of all, I want to get hold of those purple color and a brownish color. So on the left hand side, we're going to make use of the quick hatch. So on the right hand side, I'm going to make use of the set. And in this dialog at the top right hand side, you will see that there's a picker, and that's where you can get a color from any pixel on your screen. So I'm going to click on the command and I'm going to indicate the purple. And I'm going to say OK. And as you can see, it added to the list. So let's go set again because I want that brownish color as well. I'm going to click on the picker, indicate the color, Caddie picks up the color, and we're going to say okay. So now we've added the 2 colors to our full list. So on the right hand side now, the new enhancement, as you'll notice at the bottom, it says close object or polyline. Now if I select the first polyline, as you can see, it's an open polyline, as well as the second one is also Caddie confirm polyline 1, it's open polylines. So let's just hide this, and I'm going to switch off my dimensions. And now you will see that on the right hand side, it's set to closed object or polyline, and I'm going to ask Caddie prompt for island. So I'm going to take my color, drag, and I'm going to drop it. Now it should fill the whole area because now Caddie asks us object for island. So I'm going to indicate the inside. And I press escape, and the same as with the brownish color, I can just drag and drop inside and I can press escape. And as you can see on the left hand side, both those 2 polylines were open, but still it can fill the area with the hatch. Let's switch back on everything, and there we go. In this exercise, I'm going to show you how to create an area, a fixed size area. Now the command itself is under the survey, but it's not necessary for survey users only. So if I go to my application, we go down to survey, we go down to survey draw. Now the new command you'll find is called draw by area. So I'm going to click on the command. Caddie will ask us area for rectangle. Now at the moment it's set to 2000. If you look at the bottom right hand side, my drawing units is in meters. So I would like to have an area of 2000 square meters. So I'm going to press enter. Caddie will ask us indicate first corner of rectangle. Now as you can see, I like to use this line as a reference. So I'm going to zoom in, S for snap, indicate the start point. Now let's just change to freehand. Now you may notice that as I move my pointer, it changed the shape, but the area remains 2000 square. So I'm going to use snap to line, because as I say, I would like to use this line as a reference, and I've put out my first site. Now I can press enter again, and let's create another one. Once again, snap to line, and I create the second site. Now have a look. Once you start the command, Caddie will ask you, indicate second corner along one edge of rectangle, R for reverse. So what that means is, if I'm making use of this line and I'm going to press R for reverse, you will see then it will reverse to the right hand side. If I'm on the left hand side, if I'm going to press R for reverse, it will be toggle between the top and the bottom. So what I would like to do is I'm going to snap to that endpoint, the first area. So as soon as I'm going to left click now you will have two exactly the same areas as well as the same shapes. And then I can carry on. Next one, and let's say freehand. As you can see, that is the size, but I would like to have exactly the same size as this one. So what I will have to do is I'm going to press R for reverse, S for snap, indicate the endpoint. And I'm going to press escape. So now if I'm going to select the polyline, because as you can see, the command itself, Caddie confirm polyline 1, at the bottom, it will give you the area. So let's select the bottom one. Once again, a polyline, and the area also remains 2000 square meters. In Caddie 28, we introduced the disky wall command. Now just to recap, the command is under modify. We go down to transform, and then we go down to disky wall lines. Now if you click on the command, I will define with a rectangle, and then I've got angles 0, 90, 180 and 270, because I would like to keep my walls perpendicular. Now at the moment, as you can see, my first wall is horizontal, but the second, third and the fourth one is skew. My tolerance is going to be 8 degrees. To measure the tolerance, what you can do is you take, for instance, either the one that looks completely horrible, you select the wall, you go to your object properties, and you look at your rotation. My rotation at this one is 274 degrees, and it's need to be 270, so it's 4 degrees. If you check the next wall, rotation is 358. If you take it to 360, it's 1.75. So I would say 5 degrees will also be acceptable for the command. So if I go back to the command, modify, transform, we go down to the disky wall lines, and I'm going to ask Caddie, my tolerance is going to be 8 degrees. I'm going to say OK, and I define the walls. And as you can see, it did update the walls. And remember, you can still make use of the modify, trim element to element command. It's also applicable to walls. Indicate the first wall, second wall. First wall, second wall. So that was the disky wall command. Now I'm going to show you the new command in Caddie 30. Now the new command, if I go to modify, transform, the same path, at the bottom it says align walls lines relative to another. That means either perpendicular or parallel. So if I click on the command, Caddie will ask us indicate line to a line to. So this is going to be my master line. So I'm going to indicate the wall, and then Caddie asks us indicate line to a line. So it can either be a wall or a line. Now have a look. If I click on the wall, now you will see that those that's familiar with the drag settings, if you hold down the tab key, I'm not holding down the tab key at the moment. As I move my pointer, Caddie will jump with intervals of 90 degrees. So this is the new position for the wall, and I left click. Then I indicate a line. It's similar as with your drag settings, intervals of 90 degrees. And I'm happy with that angle, and I indicate that. Indicate the next line. This one is just slightly off, and then you just carry on. As you can see, Caddie will give you the 90 degree direction, and you can update your lines or your walls. Now where is it applicable? So in this exercise I make use of a survey drawing. So if I go to my survey site, as you can see, it can be data that you get from the survey general. Now the profile itself looks skewed, top right hand and bottom left hand side. So let's switch off the picture, and I switch off the text. So I'm going to make use of the command modify transform. We go down to align walls lines relative to another. Caddie will ask us, indicate line to align to. This is the correct line, and I'm going to say, let's make it this line. So that's going to be 90 degrees perpendicular. And the same on the right hand side. So I'm going to press escape, press spacebar to repeat previous command. This line's the correct one, this one is the incorrect one. Once again, now you can see it's give us the new angle. And then just go to trim element to element. You clean up your corners. You can switch back on your picture, and there's your final results. On the civil side, the new command is added, and that's for parking bays. Existing users probably made use of a line style that if you click on the drop down and you scroll down all the way to the bottom, you will see that there's a 5 meter as well as a 4.8 line style for parking bays. So if you click on a line style, then you make use of a line command, it creates those parking bays. Now here comes the new command. Not only is creating parking bays, but you can also number the parking bays. So it's a civil command. So on your left hand side, you're going to go to application, you go to civil, and then the new command is called parking bays. Now in this dialog, the dimension is going to ask you for the length as well as the width, the pen color you like to draw it, as well as a line style. Now this remains a continuous line. And then if you like to make use of layers. My text, I'm going to keep it to auto. It will adjust, if it's set to auto, it will adjust according to the size of your parking bay. And I always want my text horizontal with your specific text style that you want to use and the pen color. Now I'm going to ask Caddie to number my bays, and I'm going to ask Caddie to start at 20. So if I'm going to say OK, Caddie will ask us start of parking bays. So I'm going to zoom in, indicate the first point, last point, and Caddie asks us the direction of the bay, and I'm going to indicate to the left hand side. So as you can see, it did start at number 20, goes all the way up to 28. Now the command is in a loop, so I can carry on. I can say, right, let's start from that point again, come down to this point, and I want the parking bays to be on the right hand side. And then here at the bottom, and we go all the way up, and the direction is to the left hand side. So now I've created parking bays. It started at 20 and it goes all the way up to 46. And then you realize, but you're on the left hand side, that's actually where parking bay number 20 should have started. So you're going to use the command. So I'm going to go back to app, civil, we go down to parking bays, keep everything default. I'm going to change back to my start number to 20. I'm going to say OK. It will ask the start of parking bay, indicate the first point, the last point, and the direction. So now I've got double up, but now I'm going to show you an existing command how to edit the parking bay numbers. So it's under annotate, we go down to text, and then in the subcolumn we go down to copy, edit, multiple. So if I'm going to click on the command, my selection I will define with a rectangle because I only want to update the text here on the right hand side. My increment type is going to be numeric, and I'm going to ask Caddie to edit the existing text. And then the start, because as Caddie asks you the position and increment of number, that's going to be 9, because now I've started on the left hand side 20 up to 28, so the next one is supposed to be 29. So I'm going to increment with 9, I'm going to say OK, and Caddie will ask us indicate diagonal corners of rectangle. So I'm going to change to freehand, and I'm going to define what needs to be updated. And as you can see at the bottom, it updates to 29 and goes all the way to 55. What I want to show you, and maybe you did notice it if you look on the screen, is that if I go to my apps and I go to my civil, you will see that if I go to the parking bay command, you will see that I'm going to start at 1 and I'm going to say OK. You keep everything the same, but if I say S for snap, indicate the start point, have a look on my pointer itself. It will tell you there's 5 bays, there's 8 bays, there's 13 bays. So on the pointer itself, Caddie will tell you. So I'm going to say S for snap, let's use the endpoint. Caddie tells us there should be 25 bays. I indicate the endpoint, indicate the direction, and as you can see, it did start at number 1 and it ended up to 25. And for those that like to work with patterns, this command is pattern related. So if you double left click, you will see then it will select it as a pattern. So if you need to delete it for some reason, no need to delete segment or delete text, you can just double left click and it's a pattern. When it comes to your AEC, your sections and elevations, It's an existing command, but now you will see the enhancement. As soon as you select the elevation or a section and you right click, you make use of the section command where you want to ask Caddie regenerate all sections. Now as soon as you're going to click on the command, previously Caddie just starts doing a regeneration of all your sections and elevations. Now Caddie is giving you a dialog and ask you, depending on your hardware, regenerating all 30 sections. Because in this drawing, on this model space, it picks up that there's 30 sections, can take a significant time. You can abort by pressing the escape key on the keyboard. Do you want to continue? So as soon as you're going to say yes, then it will start regenerate the sections or the elevations. Now I'm going to give it a few seconds, and then I'm going to show to you. I'm going to hold down my escape key. The reason why I'm going to ask you to hold down the escape key is that it will finish up with the current section or the elevation that it's busy with, and then it will abort the command. And there we go. As you can see, I'm back in freehand, and Caddie confirm in the command line, regenerating section aborted by user. In this exercise, we make use of a normal standard AEC wall. As you can see, it's a cavity wall, and we're going to add a window to the corner of this wall. So on the left hand side, the normal standard window command. I'm just going to stick to a standard window. I'm going to say OK, and I place my window. So now either you move or you extend the frame to say to the inside corner of the wall. Now at the moment, as you can see, this is the results you're getting. The reason for it is they're both sharing the same end cap style. So you would like to have different information or detail. So now to change the end cap style. Now to do so, on your left hand side at the top, we're going to go to manage, and we go down to AEC style manager. On your left hand side, under your architectural, you'll go down to wall opening end cap styles, and as you can see, this is the particular wall style I'm using. Now that is the end cap style it's using at the moment. We're going to clone, we're going to create a copy of this end cap style, and let's call this one new end cap, and I'm going to say OK. So what will happen now is it's sharing it because we cloned the wall style, but what we want to do is we want to change the B. Now at the moment, as you can see, the B is on the right hand side. So they both sharing the same end cap style. So I'm going to change the B to standard, and I'm going to say apply. I'm going to say close. If I select the window on the right hand side in my object properties, as soon as you scroll down, you will see that there's an option that says end cap style. So it's set by wall style. So I'm going to change it now to the new one that we've created, new end cap. And as you can see, that is now the end results, because now they no longer share the same end cap style. Just a matter of interest, for those that missed out on the previous launches, we do have corner windows. So if you go to your draw, we go down to window, door openings, and then you'll see the second command that says create corner window. In the dialog itself, my head height is 2100, my height is 1000, my width on the first wall is going to be 1200, and the width on the second wall is going to be 800. So I'm going to say OK, and Caddie will ask us select the wall, to inside the first one and the second one, and there we go, there's your corner window. In this exercise, we make use of 3 different wall heights. So my model on the left hand side, if I select the wall, Caddie confirm my base height is 2720. On the right hand side, I've got a base height of 3000, and then my rondable has got a base height of 2500. So here comes the enhancement with the roof command. So on the left hand side, we're going to click on the roof command. Now you may notice that there's 2 new buttons added to the dialog. We always had up to Caddie 29, the calculate the height. Set the height from the last known wall height. So that means it looks at your last wall setting. So if I'm going to go to the wall command, and I'm just going to make something ridiculous here. Let's say 1500, just so you can see it looks at your wall height. I'm going to set it to 1500. I'm going to say OK. If I click on the roof command, I'm going to make use of the command that says set the height from the last known wall height. Now you'll see that my base height will change to 1500. And then you've got the last one that says pick from existing wall. Now that's handy because when you open a drawing, maybe from somebody else, you don't know what is the wall height. Instead of going select the wall, double check on the object properties, now I can just go top view. I go to my roof command, and I'm going to make use of that dropper. It says pick from existing wall. I'm going to indicate my wall, and it picks it up. My base height is 3000. So I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to do the roof. Then I can press spacebar, and I say again, pick from existing wall. It's going to be for my rondable. I'm going to say OK, And now this is a different height of 2500. Space bar. As you can see, 2500. Click on a dropper. Use this wall. Base height is 2720. Say OK. And we do the roof. So at the end of the day, you don't have to double check the wall height. When you're doing your roof commands, you can just make use either the picker, or if you're busy with a project, Caddie will get the wall height from your existing wall settings. When it comes to the setup with the Sun Stand 400, if I go to my setup command itself, up to Caddie 29, when it says find your location, you make use of your province and then set it down. Now the new enhancement is that now you can search by latitude, longitude. The advantages is that, say for instance, you've got coordinates, you're in a rural area, then at least Caddie will tell you what zone you're in. And then you will see another two enhancements. Once you either use latitude, longitude or province down, you can ask Caddie to check the location on Google Map, or you can ask Caddie check the location and zone on the CSIR ArcGIS page. So the first exercise that we're going to do, I'm going to make use of the Free State, and let's go to Bloemfontein. As you can see, the energy zone is zone 1, and I'm going to ask Caddie check the location on Google Maps. And if I'm going to zoom out, Westdene, as you can see, it's definitely in Bloemfontein area. So let's minimize that one. My second exercise is going to be by latitude, longitude. So I'm going to make use of Littleton's coordinates. So it's going to be minus 25.852963. And my longitude is going to be 28.201996. So as soon as I'm going to say find zone, now we look and see what happens with the energy zone. Caddie will update. And now what I'm going to ask Caddie is check the location and zone on the CSIR ArcGIS page. So I click on the command. Once again, make use of your internet. This is your energy demand website, and as you can see the blue spot there, if I'm going to zoom in Centurion and Littleton Manor, and that is correct. So now I can go back to my Caddie. I'm happy with my latitude, longitude, and now I can just carry on with my standard settings. For the existing users, this drawing may look familiar. Last year we introduced to you that when you make using of the symbols, you can make changes to the extended data before you schedule it. For the new users, on the left hand side we go to Suns, and you've got your Sun setup, and then you've got your commands where you can add your water and lighting symbols. So now I'm going to show you the enhancement. So first add a symbol. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to say let's start with a security light with sensor. So for the new users, you can select the symbol from the list. We do have water symbols as well as light and electric. You select the symbol, and then you can ask Caddie to align the symbol. In this case, it's going to be my 5 watt. It's going to be my properties, and my room is going to be on the outside. On time hours a day is going to be 5. So you can either drag it from the preview, or you can just double left click for where we display the name of the symbol. So I'm going to drag it, and then Caddie asks us indicate object to align to. I want to align to this wall. Position for the block, and I'm going to place it over there. And then I'm going to hold down my tab key, and I'm going to place one on the left hand side. Existing users, this may seems familiar. Now here comes the enhancement. Now previously, if you go to your scheduling on the left hand side, you will see that you've got a Sun's schedule, and now you have a quantity schedule as well. Now the first enhancement is with the Sun scheduling itself. So if I'm going to click on the command, Caddie will ask me indicate objects to schedule. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle over the objects I want to schedule, and then Caddie will ask us indicate position for schedule table, and I can place my table. Now you may notice, first of all, there's a symbol, and then when it comes to the type, all of the symbols that's in the list will have a type added to it, but at any stage you can edit it. You've got a symbol preview. And then the second enhancement is that if you click on that same command, now you can do a quantity schedule. So if I'm going to click on the quantity schedule, once again Caddie will ask us indicate objects to schedule. I'm going to create a rectangle over my Sun symbols, and Caddie asks us indicate position for the schedule table. And in this schedule table, as you can see, it gives you the quantity, the symbol, as well as the type. When starting a new drawing, if you go to File New, By default at the bottom right hand side, your CRS is not set yet. So previously up to Caddie 29, you had to go to your GIS application, you had to go to your CRS, so you can tell Caddie what system you would like to make use of. So as you can see, my recent displays at the bottom. So here comes the enhancement in Caddie 30, is that now you can just right click where it says not set. I can right click and I can then either go to the dialog I just showed you to say set drawing CRS, or Caddie will display the list of last use coordinate systems that you make use of. So I would like to make use of 3857, that's a round projection. So I've changed to 3857 and let's give it a location now, and then we can call up Google Earth for that matter. So I'm going to say search, I'm going to say Centurion, I say OK, my radius is going to be 1 kilometer, that's fine, we say OK, and now we can go to our sources. I can make use of Google Satellite, and I can even make use of my survey general information. New enhancement is you can have a shortcut at the bottom right hand side, a right click, and then you can select from your existing CRSs that you make use of. And there we go, as you can see, and remember you can control the visibility of the globe. So let's switch off the image. There's my survey general information, and there's both my layers. On the GIS side, as you can see at the moment, I'm making use of two layers or two data sources. The one is the imagery in the background, as well as then the survey general. We can switch off the image, because what I want to show you now is that if I go to my info on one of my sites, you will see that we call it attributes, has got values next to it. So what we want to do is we want like to add some of the attributes, like in this case the parcel number as well as the area, to my object properties so that I can schedule it. So if I select the same site or the Earth, at the right hand side, if I go to my extended data, there's no information yet. So now I'm going to show you the command. It's under application, we go down to GIS heat map, and then we go down to set property definition from ArcGIS property. So I'm going to click on the command. Caddie will ask us the attributes, so I'm just going to indicate one of the sites, so it picks up all the attributes. So I explained to you if I go to info. So the attribute I would like to make use of is my parcel number, and my property set I'm going to apply to areas. Now that area name is already set up in my style manager. So I'm going to select the area name, I'm going to say OK, and Caddie will ask us to indicate diagonal corners. So I'm going to apply to all those Earth or sites. If I'm going to left click on the right hand side, as you will see under my extended data, Caddie will give me my area name, that is 755, as well as the area. So now I can schedule it by just making use of the normal standard schedule command. It's under draw, we go down to scheduling, and then there's an option that says general schedule. I'm going to schedule the areas, I'm going to say OK, and Caddie will ask us to indicate objects to schedule. So I'm just going to do, let's say, a portion like that, and I'm going to place my table on the right hand side, and as you can see, Caddie displayed my Earth number as well as then the area itself. In this exercise, we make use of ProMap data. Now, as soon as I'm going to select the building, on the right hand side, Caddie will confirm block reference 1, and as I scroll down to this particular block, those are the attributes attached to this block. Now, there's one particular attribute I'm interested in, and that's the minimum Z height for this building or for this block reference. So before I'm going to introduce you the new enhance command, let's just recap on how attributes work. So on the right hand side, you can either attach an attribute to an existing block, or you can select multiple objects with the attribute and you can make it a block. So the first exercise is to edit the existing block and add the attribute. So as you can see, Caddie confirms block reference 1. So you're going to right click, you're going to go down to block, and you're going to ask Caddie edit block. So now I'm in edit mode on this particular block. As you can see, it's two different components. It's polyphase meshes. So now I'm going to add the attribute. So the command itself is under modify. We go down to blocks arrays, and we go down to attributes, and I'm going to say create attribute. Now for this first block, I'm going to set my tag to height, and where it's going to prompt in the dialog itself, it's going to display the height as well. I'm going to say OK, and Caddie will ask us pick point to insert the attribute, and I'm going to place my attribute. I'm going to press escape, and as soon as I'm going to end edit block now, Caddie will ask us to update the attribute. So I'm going to right click, and I'm going to ask Caddie end edit block. Caddie will ask us update the attribute. I'm going to say yes, and the value, I would like to make that say 2000. So if I'm going to say OK, it updates the attributes. What that means, as soon as I'm going to select the block on the right hand side under my object properties, if I scroll down, now you will see Caddie picks up on this block. There's one attribute called height, and it's got a height of 2000. So that is option number 1, edit existing block. Option number 2, to apply an attribute to an object, is that you're going to first create the attribute. So I'm going to go to modify, block array, we go down to attribute, and we're going to say create attribute. But this time I'm going to change the tag not to height but to text. Because what I mean by that is, when it's going to prompt, it can be then either, say for instance in a building, if you stacking out furniture, you would like to prompt for a room number, or it can be a part number, or it can be a code. So let's call this one part number. I'm going to say OK, and Caddie will ask us pick point to insert the attribute. I'm going to place my text, press escape. Now we first need to select all the content that I want to make one block. As you can see, the text with the 2 polyface meshes. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say make block. I'm going to call this one block B, and I'm going to say my origin. I'm going to say pick snap bottom left hand side. So as soon as I'm going to say OK, Caddie will ask us to update the attribute. This part number, let's call it AB1. I'm going to say OK, and it updates the attribute. So now I've got 2 blocks, block number B and block number A. Now as soon as I'm going to insert block number B by using the modify block array insert block, I'm going to select block number B. I'm going to say OK. It's attached to my pointer. As soon as I'm going to place it, Caddie will ask us to update the part number. So let's change this one to say AB2. I'm going to say OK, and I can press escape. So now at any stage I can select that block, and I can say C for copy, and I can make copies of that block. So that's when it comes to adding an attribute to either a block or to a component. Now the command I'm going to introduce to you now, and that is to set the height from an attribute. So the command itself is under modify. We go to block arrays and you'll find a new command added that's called set block height from attribute. Caddie picks up that in this particular model, there's 2 attributes. Now I want to make use of the height. If I'm going to say OK, Caddie will ask us pick block reference. Now I know this is this block here on the right hand side, but just to show to you, although I'm going to indicate my whole model, only the one block with the attribute height will update. So if I'm going to face it now from the front, there should be one block, and this is the block here on the right hand side, because if I go to the object properties, the attribute height is set to 2000. The other blocks has got an attribute, but that was normal text. So let's apply to our exercise. So we're going to go to modify, block arrays, and we're going to ask Caddie set height from attribute. The particular attribute I want to make use of is this minimum Z height. I'm going to say OK. Caddie ask us pick block reference that I can define with a rectangle. And as you can see, it did update the blocks by using the attribute with that particular Z height. So now I can switch on all my layers. So if I go to display, I can ask Caddie for my pro map with my contours, or pro map with contours as well as a tracked image. On the mechanical side, when it comes to your side view, you're all familiar with the side view bolt. Now you'll see that new to Caddie 30 is your LBS and your HBS series been added to a command. So under application, we go to mechanical, make draw, and you'll find the command that's called screw side view. So in this dialog itself, you'll see that your LBS and your HBS. So you're on the left hand side, first going to make use of the HBS. It's going to be diameter 6 with a length of 120. You've got your pen colors, but I'm going to ask Caddie to add an opaque behind it, and then you can ask Caddie to draw a center line as well with the extension beyond screw that I'm going to set to 20. So I'm going to say OK, and Caddie will ask us position for screw. So I'm going to zoom in, but I will look at the position of my pointer. As soon as I get the signal for the intersection, my pointer is in a direction that I want Caddie to create or draw the screw. So as soon as I'm going to left click, Caddie knows the direction and it creates the screw. Let's go back to the command. Either you can press spacebar, otherwise application, mechanical, make draw, and we go down to screw side view again. This time I'm going to make use of the LBS. So let's change to LBS. It's going to be 7, it's my diameter with a length of 16. My pen colors remain the same. I'm going to say OK. Caddie will ask us position for screw. Once again, I'm going to zoom in, as soon as I get the signal for my intersection, but my pointer is in the direction for the screw. So I'm going to left click, and the command is in a loop, and I can go to the next one. So I'm going to zoom out. There's your 2 new series for screws. In this exercise, we're going to create an air con vent cover. Now, if I'm going to zoom out, you can see on the right hand side, that's going to be our final product. Now, as I orbit it, as you can see, you can look through the what we call the fins. Now, it's an existing command I'm going to show you, but before I'm going to show you, I just want to show you the structure that I'm using at the moment. So this is my layering display. I've got a body, I've got edges, that's going to be top and the bottom. I've got my fins, my inner body, and my section body. So I'm going to say select all, and I'm going to say OK. So now if I'm going to select them, as you will see, there's 19 solids. So one is going to be the master, and I would like to subtract 18. So here comes the enhancement. Up to Caddie 29, when you make use of the command, you have to go and indicate the solids that you want to subtract or union, single individual. But now the command is under draw. We go down to 3D solids, and then we go down to subtract. Caddie will ask us, indicate 3D solid to subtract from. I'm going to indicate the master solid that I want to keep, and then Caddie asks us indicate 3D solid to subtract. So now all I have to do is I'm going to show with a normal selection box or with a rectangle. It did subtract the other 18 solids, so now I've got only one solid. You might notice that the color remains still the same. The fins is red, and my top and the bottom is still green. So now what we want to do is we would like to get the color of my air con vent on the right hand side, and I want to apply to the solid on the left hand side. So all I have to do is I can select the 3D solid, as Caddie confirm 3D solid 1. My color mode, I'm going to change my index to RGB, and where it says my RGB color, I'm going to click on the color, and now in Caddie 30 you'll find a picker as well. So you can make use of color from the selection box, but I'm going to make use of the picker. I'm going to indicate the color I would like to use. As you can see, it updates. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to press escape, and there's my new 3D solid. When it comes to your save as PDF, it's an existing command that you will find under your file, save under export, and we go down to save as PDF. Now, the first enhancement is it will retain the previous values or settings that you make use of. So anything that you want to switch on or off, then it will remember it. And you will notice that your paper sizes, standard paper sizes, that you can make use of zoom to extent mode. As well as when you save the file and the file already exists, Caddie will now come up with a warning and ask you would you like to replace the file. For the new users, I just want to mention that as you can see, I'm saving it from my sheet, that if my sheet is set up with a color plot style, when it comes to export to PDF, I can still, when it comes to my color policy, if it's set to as is, it will make use of your plot style that you set up under your sheet setup. But what we're going to do, we're going to force it now to grayscale. I change it to grayscale. We're going to say export. And as you can see, here's my PDF grayscale, although it's a color drawing with a color plot style on the sheet setup. And then when it comes to my AEC, that if I go to my AEC at the moment, as you can see, I make use of normal AEC components, 3D solids. I've got normal walls, I've got block references, solids as well. So previously I have to explode it before you can save an AEC model to a PDF. Now you can keep it AEC components. So you're going to go File, Save Other, Export. We go to Save as PDF. The only difference that you're going to make use of is enable PRC, because your PRC stands for Product Representation Compact, and I'm going to advise to switch on enable single view mode. If it's switched off, you're going to end up, say for instance, this model 120 megs, but if I switch on enable single view mode, then it's around about 21 meg. And then my color policy, I would like it to have it as is, and we're going to say export. Here's my model, and as you can see, there's some different tools available that you can play with. Let's say we can change it to, say, illustration, or you can say bounding box, or for our exercise we're going to keep it solid. But what I like about it is that if you're going to make use of a cross-section properties, just move it here to the side, is that I'm going to ask Caddie to enable the cross-section. Now at the moment it's set to Z, so as soon as I move my pointer over the scroll bar, you will see then you can present the different levels. or I can go to my x-axis. I'm going to say flip, and I can move it on the x-axis from left to right. So this is handy if you need to give the drawing to somebody that hasn't got a CAD system, because once again you can orbit the drawing. If I go to orbit, then your client can see exactly the model that you've created in your Caddie, and it helps for your presentation.
That concludes the launch. Thank you for attending and stay safe.